I call a meeting of May 8th, 2015, budget workshop to order. I'll have the invocation tonight, and then we'll stand and say the pledge of allegiance, but let's stand for the invocation. Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, I ask your leadership tonight as we try to carry on some serious county business. I ask the safety of everyone here and the safety of everyone here on their way home tonight. I give you thanks for the public safety we have in this county. They give their life or give a chance of losing their life every day when they go out. I ask your blessings on the veterans in this work in this United States today and their families. They do things for us so we can have meetings like this. I ask your blessings on Lisa tonight because of her loss of her stepfather. And I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to start by saying I've had a bad week this week. My pickup truck was hit twice. I had a credit card that was maxed out, stolen and maxed out, and 2 or 3 other things. But after reading weekly papers, local papers this past week, the Clinton Chronicle, I know their editor's not here tonight, but they put a lot of things in the paper that were very one-sided. They basically said county council was not doing their job. If they say county council's not doing their job, the people in this county are not doing their job, if that's what they say. They basically said that Diane and I had an argument before council about the LCDC. That's totally untrue. I reassigned committee assignments, and she didn't agree with the committee assignments. That's what me and her had a little spat about. Had nothing to do with the LCDC. The only thing, for the last 2 months, we've tried to work on this budget. We're $2 million out on this budget. We asked the county people, the county workers, the county department heads to try to help us out in this. That's the only way we're going to ever be able to give these employees in this county another raise. We've got to bring this budget back in sync some kind of way. And the only way you can do it is money. We can't keep spending $2 million more than what we got coming in. I said when I went on as chairman of the county council, I was not going to do anything else behind closed doors. I mean it, and there's been a lot said about the LCDC this past week. I reviewed their budget. I seen things in it that was not fair. It wasn't fair to the rest of the employees in this county. They say that they've got nothing to do, Lawrence County Council's got nothing to do with them. The LCDC is a direct party to Lawrence County Council because Lawrence County Council furnishes them tax money. We're a related party to them, and if we see money being spent where it shouldn't be spent, I think I myself have got a right to say something about it. Just like paying all their insurance. There's nobody else in this county that the county pays all their insurance. Health, vision, dental, all that's paid. One employee out there, sent back in January, he got a $10,000 raise plus $1,000 a month car allowance. That's take-home pay of $1,833 a month, above what he was making. Take home pay $1,833 more a month. Now, y'all tell me if that's right. It's not right, but I don't know what I can do about it, the way the thing's set up. A lot of people want to turn and look the other direction. I'm not gonna do that. But it's gonna fall where it may, you know. We vote up here, we do what we need to do. I got several other things to say, but I'm gonna say it. But since Lisa's not here tonight, I'm gonna ask Ernie if he'll go over these modifications or whatever else he needs to do. We on part 4 of our agenda tonight.
Thank you. Everybody copy of this sheet. And I apologize for electronic. Not my expertise, unfortunately. This Kirk's been out, and Kevin Wood indicated the Devil family. This was basically a rework of the list. I think I was here for the whole meeting last time. I think y'all looked at this as a sort of starting point for deliberations tonight. The next day, I think, sent department heads a breakdown of this that showed what was being recommended. Again, and it's pretty well across the board. It's based on active expenditures over a 4 or 5 year period. And I think if you follow it left to right, you see the department, the recommended, and then what was finally the final recommendation based on either active expenditures or current department heads. And I think, with the exception of what's shown in yellow on the sheet, that it's pretty well, everybody pretty well seen this. All right, I think everybody's seen it pretty well to it now. And I think Ms. Kirk has been out a good bit with the Ellsworth family, so some of these sponsors may have come in, and I can't speak to that right now. We can start looking into that. But if you look on the 3rd page, the total modifications are $382,113. I think originally she had like almost $400,000. So the parts that are not addressed in here are not, are not a whole lot of money. But I think based on her work and what I've seen and departmental reviews, I think council can safely reduce the budget by this amount. That's the right way to put it. And that, again, depends on the numbers you're looking at, 900,000, 1.8, 2 million, whatever the number. I know it's got to that too. But that can be reduced by $382,000. So if you all approve of these, we can, when she gets back first week, we can rework the budget document and include these in there. Which will be, again, it's still a pretty sizable amount to be addressed. There is this much progress, I think, been made based on her looking at it and the department head's review of it. I don't think these will hurt. I mean, the budget will work in progress anyway. I think these can safely be done without basically hurting county operations. That's what I would that right as again, I saw these about the same time y'all did last week, and I got them yesterday afternoon. I looked at them today to some degree, and if you want a chance to look at them, like I said, we've got them last night, so if you want to take a chance to look at them before you take any action on them, that's fine. But I think, based on what I see, I think they're a good one to be contacted.
We'll start with Mr. Pitts. What do you think about these cuts?
Like I said, I've just gotten them here. I just like to listen at this point. I'm not sure at that kind of stuff on what we received tonight, but I don't see a problem with it.
Based on what I'm looking at, and she had talked with the department and they approved of it, I think it's a good thing. I might come back to haunt us on the ones that she doesn't have any response from a department head. and she went on and based them on her actual expenditures. So, which I think is,
I don't think she included those in the total, so we can.
she didn't
go back to
include
them.
any of these in the total, which in the yellow.
We can go back to them and see what, you know, and take.
That's the
Some,
only.
some may be out of town, so some, I don't know, there are a lot of reasons why they may not respond in several days to call.
But I think it's a good thing that they were able to look at their budget and cut some of it, and I appreciate that effort. I just want to make sure that everybody is covered and that if they want to add more than one to fill this fund, that'd be good too.
I think a lot of these, has to do with gas, and we all know gas is creeping back up some now. I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this looks good to me. I'm interested in the, once again, the no responses on there from those departments, but other than that, this looks good.
Mr. Knight?
Looks like to me it's all good, some of the departments did respond, but, looks like a good job cutting back what you got in the budget, right off the top. We need that 400,000 plus more, well, getting started.
Mr. Todd?
The only thing, Mr. Chairman, is I agree with the work that the staff has done in these cuts, and I do appreciate the department heads coming back. And what it's listed here is the department approved change as they dug into their budget and tried to help reduce that. In the no responses, I don't know why these department heads didn't respond. I'll make an assumption that they were out of town or et cetera, and didn't respond, so I would look forward to hearing from them. But if we didn't, then I still expect to take these changes. If they choose not to respond, then I expect to make these changes as is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we receive them as information tonight, give everybody a chance to look at it, and maybe at our next budget meeting, we'll vote whether to make these cuts tonight. That's it, everybody.
And we'll get back to the departments, get respond. I'm sure there's a different reason, some of these, they could have called the town, we'll check them, really, see what that is. I think, didn't you submitted something, didn't you? Not part of this.
Yes, I never got a recommended cut,
Did you send something, an email?
but I did send some, but it was very minor, just some suggestions of additionals that could be cut.
EMS, basically that budget balance, I know that, $7 million, and so I think Mr. Burrell's come back with a couple of minor cuts, we'll include those too. And when we revise this. Check, I'm sorry, that's what we got right now, and, the question or follow any way you all see fit.
One thing that, I'm gonna sign it to a committee to look at is, our industrial parks. I know we can't mess with any feeloads coming out of school. Ain't gonna get no rumors started. But there's some of the other feeloads in it that might be turned over to this Lawrence County. But I'm gonna put it, committee, finance committee, or we can, Mr. Dawson, chairman of it. And it'll be discussed and a recommendation will be brought back to council about what to do about that. Y'all know all our industrial parks are split different ways. Just like Owens Park is split 50% for the school, 40% for the county, and 10% for the LCD system. That's right, and Oxford Park.
10% is economic development reinvestment fund.
Do what now?
10% is for economic development reinvestment funds. It's restricted based on the policy of the county
To go back to the LCD system.
for restricted purposes of reinvestment.
That's what I'm talking about, 10%. And some of them is 25%.
That's right.
Chairman, that we might, if you don't mind, maybe Mr. Crook County might reserve this on that committee, serve with that committee well, but maybe, take a look at it, that'll be okay.
I'll ask, Sandy to get all that information together and sit in on that council meeting when we have it done. Here's one, ordinance 771, master agreement. The Economic Development Reinvestment Fund is managed by the Lawrence County Development Corporation, entitled to receive, this says 25%, but just, how many parts we got?
Several.
Probably 20 different parts of agreements.
Okay, we done beat that in there.
I mean, I was glad to get it all together for the committee.
It's all right, but you, Mr. Seeger, you want to start at the top of the book here and go through each department? Is that what everybody wants to do?
Be fine, that's what, you want,
I think. And then we'll go through some capital requests and so forth.
that's a, we'll count the thing. I'm not sure I can answer every question, I'll try, but, Ms. Kirk will know more details than I do, but we can certainly make notes of what we can answer, we're glad to try to get them for you as soon as we can.
I hate everybody had to come out on Friday evening, but it's the only time we could get together and have everybody here.
You might take this sheet that you got and go through, compare it with, and, and just kind of see what's already been recommended maybe.
Okay. We're gonna start with, administration.
That's a good one.
I have a couple of concerns I would like to throw out for someone to see if we want to further looking at some of those concerns.
Well, we'll go through, we're gonna have a council discussion after we do this. And we can do that. Could be all right.
I just want to take some things that was in the budget out.
Is it in each department, is it in a department or something?
Oh, well, we had some departments to request for some new employees, and I think all of them need to come out.
They are, nothing in the report.
Okay.
What about the maintenance man for the new building over here?
Well, that's one. That's one. Is that included in here? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I apologize. That's my mistake.
Yeah, let me see what else. Did they take out all the others, like what the sheriff asked for, and all that was out?
None of that's included.
Okay.
You talking about new hire?
All new hires.
I didn't think about the maintenance person. That's
So it's just only one.
What else, Diane?
The other thing I would like for us to look at is that if we could possibly freeze each one of the department budgets as of May 15th and try to recoup whatever is left and try to add it to our budget, upcoming budget.
freeze what? Freeze everything?
Yeah, whatever they got left in their budget. And if they need anything, they need to just, I would just say request, if they need a request, they need to come to you and ask you about it.
You mean that May 15th of 2016, is that what you're talking about?
15, this year.
Right.
What's in your budget, what budget you have right now?
Okay. this
Everybody
year.
has the budget. And so they have spent up to, I think we got a paper one time, the people had spent to 70% of their budget and 80% of their budget. Oh, see, if they got 20% of their budget left right now, is that we freeze those funds in that department budget. And unless they have a real extreme emergency was the only way they could use the money, and they would have to come and talk to us.
Now, would that exclude salaries and, you got EMS calls you gotta make, sheriff got calls you gotta make, car department calls you gotta make, you talking about just line items or the whole thing?
I would say more so all those little
Office supplies?
office supplies and stuff like that. Something that, I'm not trying to hold the department.
We can look at that. Some of the stuff though is just, is operational stuff
Well, I'm not saying not to stop operation, but what I'm saying is that they got, okay, and one of these line items, let's see. Building grants and landscaping. Okay, if they have 10,000 in there now, and they haven't used, that much of it during the whole year, and you only have one more month, which is June,
right.
where it makes sense that they've not spent any more money in those areas. I don't want to just pinpoint, but I think they, at their discretion, they can know what
Okay.
choices to make, along with, talking it out with you.
Maybe we could call it maybe discretionary spending.
Yeah.
For things that they may need to purchase between now and July 1st, but not interfere with their routine duties or constitutional duties or whatever. I think that could get kind of tricky to tell an elected official he or she can't.
Yeah, I'm not holding them hostage. What I'm really trying to do is just make sure that we are meeting the needs and not just going over the budget, because now it's May and you're gonna use all those funds before July 1. Just because you already have.
I'm writing these items down and, like when we vote to decide to put this in here, we'll bring this up. We'll go by show of hands like we do every year, whether we want to do that or not. Whether we want to freeze budgets or freeze new hires or whatever else we come up with between now and when, I'd say the next budget meeting, we'll vote on some of this stuff. And you had a third item.
Yeah, but that has something to do with the ordinance that we have in place regarding the blue. And I expressed that I would like to have the date changed. And I'd like to have it changed to July 1, effective July 1. And that would save the county some funds.
Which ordinance is that?
What number is it?
The one concerning the insurance, fee of insurance.
Oh, you're talking about fee and lieu?
The pay of
The insurance.
Pay.
That's scheduled for second reading next Tuesday. That might be the appropriate time to look at that. That's okay.
Well, at that time, if you want to make a motion to change that, we'll vote on it at the next council meeting.
I already started working on that part, but I just want to make sure that was a part of whatever I want to add into the budget. And I thought that would help out some.
All right, back to administration. Has anybody got any comments about the administration?
Okay, it just came down a little bit because of the reduced audit fees. I think that's the main change in that.
Has anybody got anything? Or we move on to Mr. Attorney? I know, Sandy's got some requests. Would that be capital request? Where do we find the request for his department?
You mean as far as, you don't pay 16, I think is
What's he saying like this?
There was a requested salary increase in here for that, huh? Is that right? 15, 16.
again, those
salary as per the back page. He requested a part-time salary as of, back here with the positions.
In the back.
So back where additional compensation for additional employees request. The majority of those were not included in this draft.
Well, I tell you what, when we get back there to that, we'll go over that.
All right.
Main thing right now is just the budget. Anybody got any questions on the budget? Request the budget, 15 to 16. Last item for Lisa's recommended.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Cruikshank's on page 2, under his tab, all of this is requested is contingent upon whether council requires the county attorney to occupy the new building. Is that correct, Mr. Cruikshank? And the date that he has suggested is December 2016. I believe that will have implications on the budget, whether it's positively or negatively on the budget. I don't know what this council will request of the county attorney in terms of the new facility. Yeah. That's just a comment based on what Mr. Cruikshank submitted.
Mr. Chairman, am I reading this incorrectly on this particular, on page 16, bottom line, 2015 budget is showing 116, the request, and that's through the staff is 122.43, so that's an increase, correct?
Yeah, it looks like. I was trying to see where that increase came in.
Some
Yes,
places.
yeah, I'll tell you what, and I haven't seen what the recommendations are, but I can tell you what the increase is. I got
Part-time salary.
I got a longevity increase this past year.
That is one.
Is that pretty much the difference?
Yes, sir.
So nothing else has changed on the increase?
Now, we on page 16,
Yeah.
That's where it is.
I see it jump from 51,848 to 95,331.
On page 16?
Year to
Page
date.
16, first.
You're reading the year to date.
Year to date expenses.
Yeah, go down and hit your total.
Just out of curiosity, with the office supplies, I noticed last year it was 1,500, this year it's 3,000. Is there something that made that $1,500 difference there?
I don't know what numbers you look.
Okay.
I don't have that document.
Okay.
What she was saying,
We reduced that to 1,500.
what Lisa was saying, that would be taken up with the new furniture that required, it's on this sheet, it's on this sheet here.
Correct. This current recommended a reduction of 1,500, and I agree with that, because that would be part of the supplies that would be furnished that can be built.
This document
I got
came
you.
after this document.
I got you.
That's
Flood.
that's what I'm saying.
Hey, I see it right.
Yeah, I'm shifting back and forth, and see where we are.
What's the 550 membership, the 550 a year?
That's for the County Attorneys Association, the Bar Association, the State and County Bar Association.
So that $1,500 has already been took off from this budget.
Yes, sir. Yes.
500 for travel also is taken on.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that this is the venue, but I do want to bring it up so maybe you can guide me on the venue. As we do transition into the new facility, then I think we need to take another look at the attorney, how we're going to use him there, in moving his support staff, equipment, servers, et cetera. So that's, I agree. I think Ms. Anderson, I apologize if I'm wrong, I think Ms. Anderson may have said that, or maybe Stuart said something about the budget could be different as we move into that building. somebody said something about that. So I agree that there will be some maybe some substantial changes there as far as support staff, equipment.
Well, I won't get into it tonight, but I have heard a desire from some people on this council for a possibility of bidding the attorney job out before we go into the new building. But I don't think that'll have any bearing on this budget here with attorney. But that'll be something we'll take up later on in the year if that's the desire of this council.
Okay, and that's kind of where I was going there, however we're gonna use the attorney in the future to go into the new building, but that would not make any difference to the budget, am I right? Mr. Seeger,
Sure.
thank you.
I guess we're buying a new computer in there, or is that?
That was taken out.
That's taken out.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it's taken out.
Anybody got else got anything to say about the attorney position?
Well,
I know there's a lot of requests in here before we go into the new building, but that's what I said we'll take up before we go into the new building. You say something, Ted?
well, professional insurance increase.
45% increase each year, the rest of my budget.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any, you don't have any control
I
like
have
that.
absolutely no control over that.
Other companies,
That is, bid it out every year.
Okay, if nobody's got anything else, we'll go to the airport.
I think it went
Sounds
down.
like they came in less this year than they did last year.
It went down $12.
Well, it went down 800 something.
Yeah, I guess it did. They do a very good job with fairly limited amount of money out there. That 25,000 is a kind of a rollover account they use. They get FAA grants and state grants, and they use that as matching money. They'll always spend that every year, but that's been kind of putting the money they had this year.
And we are planning on letting the PRT take that over, right?
That's when we discussed it, probably the week.
Anybody else got any questions on the airport?
Yeah, I want to stop there, sorry, Stuart. You brought up that, and I will bring it up, since you brought it up. We discussed a little bit about the parks and recreation. As we do that, there is a part-time salary there, and that I've talked to Mr. Wayne fairly in detail about the airport out there the last few months. That is basically one guy that is doing that mowing, so to speak, and cleanup, trash pickup, etc. So I don't expect that to change in the event the recreation department takes part of that on. On the other hand, if the Parks and Recreation Director does begin to take in his management some of Mr. Wham's responsibilities, and we need to consider at that point some compensation for that. I don't know that we can ask the manager to take on extra duties, more duties.
Unfortunately, we've got Chris Carlson meeting, that's the topic of discussion for Tuesday night. I apologize for not getting that to you, but felt like a more formal session might be a better time to discuss that.
Okay, and yeah, I understood that, and the only thing with that is I just want us to be aware in the budget that
I'm seeing on our budget here, we've got zero appropriated for overtime, requested for overtime, but on our overtime, that I've got here, this update here, I've got $582 in overtime for the airport.
That could have been, I don't know why I put into it, that could have been like a weekend event. They have fly-ins, they have events out there, you know, in order to publicize the airport, you could come in, and that could be part of that, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't,
If we could just find out where that's.
those folks you work regular hours, and unless it's some event that we, you know, that they had prep for, it could have been that. So,
Well, they're down, I mean, like you were saying, they're down in cost, so I mean, I'm just curious, because I'm seeing the $500.82 over here, but I'm not seeing any overtime appropriated, or maybe it's in a different area, I guess, but we can just find out about where that's coming from there.
Why do we have two, airport papers in here? Both of them got different amounts on them. One totals out 82,119, the other one 82,970. I have, I don't really know.
That might be, the book might be, I only see one, you know.
Each tab has two in it. If you go to the assessors, there's 2 pages there as well.
See, 82,119, 82,970.
Same thing with the auditor.
One's labeled the final adopted budget 2015, Mr. Caesar, the other is labeled first draft 2016.
I'm not sure, I don't know, I'll have to, I didn't notice that.
So the request is the same as 2015 on the second, on the final.
I think the pertinent number is the 2015 question, that's the one we should be looking at here.
I think we should, on each tab, look at FY 2016 budget dash first draft.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to the assessor's office. There's nobody here from the assessor's office.
How many full-time employees is that in the assessor's office?
Nine.
We're taking a lot of revenue.
They, one part-time. They're up about $2,000 away.
Part-time salaries is what is making it different.
Yeah. He's got, then they have a full-time, part-time that works in the office.
I apologize, both salary and part-time, those two are making, that is what the changes are.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the assessor?
I was just curious about the training and office supplies, but the assessor's not here, so.
They have to recertify every so often, and they're required, DOR, I think, does training for, took the field people, I think, and you've got 3 or 4, the county assessor, I think, 4 that do that.
They did
It
cut
took a
that,
decrease in it on the green sheet, on the new sheet we got today.
yeah, they did cut that by
They cut it.
3,500, cut it.
Sorry,
I apologize for the crisscross.
I didn't see
That's
that.
called mail.
Is everybody all right going through this like this?
Yep.
No more questions about the assessor's office? Go to the auditor's office. You got a page of justification review. Looks like you're moving part-time to full-time salary. part-time salary increase. Increased cost of services, $30,000. Increase in cell phone cost, $1,500. Well, that's $500, it might from $1,000 to $1,500. Travel and meetings increased $500. And $1,000 increase in cost of office supplies. If we go over here to the auditor's page over here, and we see what she approved, a $32,000 change. Is that right, Ernie?
Yes, sir. That professional services account, as you see at the top, 3,000, that was a program we had in place for a while to help with the ELO consultations and that kind of thing. I think that's been accomplished, so that can be reduced by that amount, about $20,000, I think what the clerk recommended, and then the Smith data contracts could be reduced by 20, and then, so you think that's about $42,000, about $32,000, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask a question, a general question. If
This
there's
is kind of
not,
open session. If anybody got a question,
okay,
ask.
if there is not a line item entitled cell phone, then I'm assuming that department is not providing cell phones. Is that correct?
Would assume that.
For example, in administration, there's a cell phone reimbursement. In airport, there is not one. And
It's for people that use their personal phones. County use.
And
$30 a month, that amount was approved several years ago. People use their own phones for county business.
And under county attorney, it says telephone. I'm assuming that's just a regular phone, right? But no cell phone.
No, I have my own personal cell phone.
And in the auditor and others, there is a line item entitled cell phone.
That would be a county cell phone.
And I'm just asking, not only the auditor, but the others, is it required for them to do the general operations and duties of their job? That's just the question. Generally speaking, that's all I'm saying.
I think it would depend on I have a county cell phone here, a good bit, in and out.
I would expect you to.
Others are, would be, it's just gonna depend on the activities, where they are. Sometimes they're out, sometimes they use them, sometimes they could be used after hours for, for contact, that kind of thing.
And I'll give you an example, in the sheriff's office. My hunch is every employee in the sheriff's office has a county-issued cell phone. That'd be my guess.
Okay, you're right, yes.
Do they need that to perform the functions of their job? With an 800 megahertz radio in the car and they were carrying one, do they need to carry a cell phone too? I don't know. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I also say this, I'm not suggesting doing away with all cell phones if it puts their lives or any other life in danger. So that's just a question that I think that we have to look at. It's just me personally speaking.
We've got some deputies here, I would think that they occasionally have to use them for, security case or whatever.
You won't come forward and address that? Well, since he brought it up, we're not too sure.
And it's not, and that's not the only department, I'm just.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing that as a general surge into each department. The problem is somebody has to make a determination, and obviously the department heads already have in their department. So it's one of those things, maybe we take up right after the budget session and we assign a committee and bring those, let's justification for those. To me, it's iPads as well. Similar thing on the iPad. That's a phone line that we're paying for. That's a piece of machinery we're paying for. And in some cases, I agree, in some cases, the iPads is awesome. You got it. But in some cases, we have some departments that I think may have iPads that we probably shouldn't have.
I tried to aggregate all, I asked for the Excel spreadsheet for the budgets. I was going to aggregate and pull all the amount that we're spending totally in cell phones. It was impossible to do because of circular references in the Excel budget, in the Excel spreadsheets. So without getting out a calculator and going line by line, which is possible, I just didn't do it. But it's worth noting, not only cell phones, but telephones in general. But you gotta have telephones, I understand that. So, just for what it's worth.
Since I asked a question, just, come back, he says everybody in the sheriff's department got a cell phone bought by the county, is that so?
No, supervisors, investigators, and some of the support services like the warrant folks, they have them. The road deputies do not, but a supervisor of the sheriff's office do, and the admin, that. Offhand, probably, in the detention center,
Six at the detention center.
that's maybe the admin and some of the folks can go out.
But the people like the road deputies carry cell phones, you're absolutely right. They're a personal cell phone that they're paying for, and they do use them to perform their duties. But that's their own personal cell phone, and they're paying for it, they're not charging the county for it. And if they don't, they're gonna stop at every store that comes by to make a phone call, because the radio won't transmit in certain areas. Am I mistaken, Captain?
And you don't want to, some of that stuff that needs to be discussed between people don't need to be able to.
And I agree with that.
So, I mean, that's, you can call.
Okay, we'll do a study of cell phone.
I mean, go ahead.
Anybody else got anything on the audit?
We can isolate cell phone calls, that would help, I think we would do that. I would discourage do that probably fairly, we can offer that to this. The ag, what we're talking about.
Well, yes, sir, I've got a couple of questions. Professional services, 25,000, was that cut?
Cut about 20.
So it's still 25.
Well,
This is 5.
Five.
I thought, okay, thank you. That Smith Data contract, just address that, I know they gotta have it, would you tell us what that is? That's the largest expense of that
I
department.
think that's QS1 now. The office treasurer and the assessor, Smith, QS1 does all of the tax work. They prepare the notices, they mail the notices, now that's, the county expense, because they can do it at a cheaper rate, faster rate, they take it with Columbia, or whatever.
Right.
And that is basically the tax levying, apportioning system for the entire county that also serves the schools, the city, the whole thing. That's in lieu of an IT department that the county, some counties have that we don't have, that would, would perform the same service. We've been, county been split that at my time, I've been here 28 years, they've been split out. The county been with QS1, that point involved. Now, they do, certainly, offices have been upgraded with, computer, you go in, just pay online, that kind of thing. Basic framework of the tax system is provided by the county.
Is that contract, that amount, does that cover the treasurer's office? I don't see it listed in treasurer's. And
It covered.
the assessor's office.
At one time, we split it out, assessor office treasurer, 10 where it is. And there was an issue about who was billing for what county to pull it from, that sort of thing. So we put it together. Now, I think there's still some cost, maybe incidental costs with the, maybe for maintenance or some other things that might be assigned back to the treasurer to the, to the assessor, the bulk of these or paid by that. That's actually the first contact, I think, QS1, they'll pick up their, work and then basically use that for fair tax notice. And there are thousands of them, they automobiles, real and personal property. So, and I think, there's, one time QS1 had half the county in the state, and they still do a number of them. I think the advantage of it is with, all the changes in Department of Revenue, changes in state tax law, changes that James Cindy frequently does. I think, the QS1 forms that service, to accommodate those as well. So
Is it, and I know the answer before I ask it, but it's worth asking again. Is it worth our time to look at another company for potential savings of a certain amount of money?
every time that,
You got a learning curve.
yeah, I think.
Nobody wants change.
The treasurer and auditor can answer that better than I could, but I think, given the experience with them and what they know and the comfort level they have, by the service they perform, probably not, to be honest with you. And they also do the, again, they apportion from, the schools, the cities, the special purpose districts, all depend on that one, one framework to use over that, so.
There's a problem with that, Dr. Dixon. It's split by basically five entities in the county. Auditor, treasurer, assessor, tax collector, and clerk enforcement and software. So that,
Where you looking?
it's a total, not every one of them has that QS1 total built into their budget.
I can see it on the treasurer. Okay.
So they're all using that same system to bring in their.
I just hate for any one vendor to have anybody at over back. Whether it's CSI, QS1, whoever.
And, and the fact that we don't have an IT department, I'm not preaching we need one, the fact we don't have one, subjects us to whatever the whims of the market are. I think QS1 though has been I meet with them twice a year on, contract notices and that kind of thing. I actually sign the contracts that they execute. And I think they've been, fairly consistent over the years, it's kind of service.
I'm just looking at how to budget out.
I've got a clerk, I think the two main systems we have, we've been through that, the QS1 system, CSI, that's right. The CSI system is basically the general fund, that's general ledger account. I think that's what we got, been that way for
Their salary increase that they asking, that's for longevity too.
I'm not sure about that.
Didn't they have a justification?
I think they did.
Yes, third page.
I'm saying, no, we're taking off the board.
I don't have that.
You have a third page, you said?
I got that there, yeah. But they just said the amount increased.
Yeah.
So why would the increase, are they saying the increase because of longevity? Or why do they want to increase it? But it's just about 5,000, I'm just asking.
Looks like the coal was included in that.
That's what I'm asking.
We back that out.
She had the longevity coming forward.
Yeah. Again, I'm a little bit disadvantaged trying to follow that, so we make those.
I just put it on there.
All right, building and ground.
I have one more question. The travel and meetings on there.
We'll put this on the bottom.
Yeah. I want to find out about, because they, I'm guessing that's their, just their gas costs or their travel.
That's yearly conventions, training sessions, most, not all, most county departments have long associated with Treasury Association, Court Association. They have meetings like once a year, and general day, they have to go to Columbia or something, they might charge back. Usually it's some sort of professional development type, what it is.
Is it possible we could remove some of that? Part of it, some of it?
Well, spent $1,473 last year, and requested $1,500, so I guess you, sorry, I'm not proud.
I mean, I understand that there's a certain amount needed for training, et cetera, from a lot of departments.
That's kind of what I was looking at too, was the 2013 was 1473, 2014, 1777, 2015 was 1500, and then it's 2000 for 2016, so I didn't know. I was guessing if that's their gas or something, I mean, they're predicting gas.
That's usually registration, hotel,
Okay.
trap, and if you use out of town trap. A lot of what they do is Columbia, they do that today, sometimes they may have something, again, it's not just these folks, you know, countywide, they may have something for a week, for a weekend, something like that, and they generally, some are training, some people actually, I think, some people press going to things, like professional, not hours necessarily, but accreditation, that kind of thing, so.
I'll ask them about that.
I went through this thing, just kind of hot spot a couple of weeks ago, with something like $85,000 of travel in here. That's like the county council with everything, so, you know, that's a sum of money. It could certainly be reduced, eliminated, whatever. But, I think, you know, once a year, 2-day meeting out of town is not, you know, hours you folks work and what they pay you. Yeah, it's a subjective question that can be addressed, but, there's not a whole, you know, nobody going to Paris or to South France. I mean, it's usually in state, it's usually a training or a fairly, you know, couple of days at the most.
Yeah, I was just curious about the jump, what it costs.
All right, building and grounds and all. Since I always got 2 pages, you got a final adopted budget, I think that's one we should be looking at instead of.
That's correct.
Right. Yours got 2 pages in there?
Mine doesn't have it.
Look right down at the bottom of the book, it says final adopted budget, and that first one says.
I've got first draft 2015, that's the one I've got.
Okay.
I must be flying blind.
See, I was thinking the final,
I got first draft budget, it should be 2016, is that what you're looking at? 2015?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got that.
Well, see, that's just like building and grounds, that's where the new employee is added in right there at the top.
Yeah.
And if you look back to the last one, the one before that is not added in.
Okay, I apologize, I don't have it.
Page 20 and then. Yep. You got page 1.
I got, mine go 2021, I'm sorry. I think what's the final request on building the ground on when you look at it? 7 what?
81401.
$85,814.
8,014?
No,
$814.
Building the ground?
Since it's new, we should be able to cut it to 8,000.
You got, I'm lost, I'm sorry.
I was shrinking the box now. I've got 2 pages too.
Okay. Seven
This
more,
is the one we should be looking at.
66.
Because that's last year. This is
Yeah, so I'm looking at the right,
that.
this has got 2015.
While they're looking at that, Mr. What are we spending your building maintenance on? Which buildings, number one? And number two, what contracts does that contain? I don't know.
What's question,
Under building maintenance,
yeah.
which buildings are we talking about? I'm assuming that's Church Street, this building, and Hillcrest.
Every bill we own,
Every building we own.
health department, old like the 911 center, the Church Street,
That's
courthouse.
just regular routine maintenance.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, and and they they split, for example, one in the Church Street building, split between that building and the, old life.
Well, that would be under salaries. I'm talking about just under the line.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't.
43012, entitled building maintenance. I assume that's just regular routine
Yeah.
things, supplies, screws, whatever you have to buy.
Can be repairs, I mean, there's a lot of things involved with that.
And what is maintenance contract? What do we have a contract on for maintenance contract?
I'll pick up the wrong one. I got the wrong item.
Here, use this, I'll look
Let
on
me
it.
sit with you.
Yeah.
I picked up the wrong book when I let out. I'm
Here,
sorry.
you can use this.
You're a new grandpa, you can do anything you want to do with that.
I'll look on it.
That's right.
It's okay, it's okay.
Maintenance contract, what is the maintenance? What do we have maintenance contract on?
HVAC.
Mr. Chairman, I feel comfortable, we should be looking at the
What else, Rob? What kind of maintenance?
I think we do have there's a landscaping contract, if I'm not mistaken, to handle the Owens Industrial Park pylon out there on the interstate. That's a kind of a little bit beyond some of our normal landscaping type abilities. I think that was a contract. There's a couple other little contracts out there. Elevator, we have an elevator contract to maintain elevators in the county as well.
Emergency generator.
Generator. There's a lot of little things out there that we contract out, we don't do ourselves.
Mr. Rushing, I want to ask you to do me a favor. Would you check into that first item you were talking about? I think you said Owens Park. I think that maintenance is done as part of LCDC.
I could be wrong with that. I know we have a landscaping contract for one of those. I'm not sure which one
I
it
just
is.
don't want us to,
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is, but I know it.
they've got it on their budget.
Because when we looked over this budget, Steve and I actually looked at cutting out one of the landscaping contracts that we had, and possibly doing it with our own people. But that kind of tied in with the additional person that we were requesting for the new building as well.
We had a contract one time on what we used to call the county industrial park, at the business park at the hospital.
Okay. And that made
And
that,
there was some
Yeah.
green space thing we did there for a while. I'm not sure what's that, I'm not sure we're still doing that.
It's not fair to ask because we've had the old job that long, but I'm just curious, where are we in the life expectancy of our equipment in terms of HVAC? My hunch is, if it's
Past.
school district, is way past it.
Way past. We do piecemeal approach to replace it. So instead of replacing the whole unit at 10 grand, we replace it $200 at a time, every
Yeah.
part of it.
I know it feels.
If you ever walk out of this building, look down here, you see what we got.
Yeah.
I think this building's got something like 7 different air handling systems because it's so complex.
But they make it work. A lot of the,
So do we have HVAC technicians on your staff?
no, we'll use an outside vendor for any type of freon work, that sort of thing. But if we're doing something that does involve actual freon work, we'll do ourselves. Just depending on the fix. We'll go out and evaluate it ourselves first. If we can fix it, we do just by part.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got the right book now, answer any question you got. I apologize, that was my mistake.
Well, janitorial supplies, that'd be supplies for the new building, I guess.
No, janitorial supplies, we've seen a steady increase over the last couple of years, paper goods being the biggest increase. We actually went to our main supplier, had renegotiated some prices, actually started having them deliver for the same price that they were, we had to go pick up for. We've done some changes there, but Essentially, that's an increase in paper goods mostly on the janitorial supplies. And that's-
Utilities, that's probably a new building right there.
No, utilities, utilities is a steady increase, well, new building as well, but utilities, we've also seen a steady increase, some extreme temperatures, high and low. Of course, we pay utilities for most buildings in the county. They come through our office and we pay them. I think electrical is a big one that's kind of creeped up over the years, kind of a steady increase. We do have, programmable thermostats in all of our buildings that stay locked, so we don't allow people, every now and then to find one that's up or down, but we do check them routinely to make sure that, we're not jacking the AC up in the middle of summer and the heat up in the middle of winter, but, we have seen an increase in a lot of the electrical needs.
Mr. One problem we've had over the years, we never got rid of anything. We moved out of this building, moved over to the 8,000 square foot courthouse, and kept this building for obvious reasons. And then we moved out, we built the library, moved out of the old library and put everybody else in there. So, we've steadily grown, I think, grown facilities that we have to maintain, we haven't got rid of it. I think that's going to be a question of maybe Church Street.
I look forward to changing that tree and become Church Street.
Well, and again, this budget was formulated on keeping Church Street open to a certain extent. Until the council decides what to do with it, I had a plan, or Mr. Holland planned in this budget to do to keep it open to some extent.
And you rock those up.
And the additional person, I know Ms. Anderson, you brought it up earlier, we typically have around about, a custodial person for every about 15,000 square foot. We're adding 18,000 square foot in the new building. Currently, the janitor in the Church Street building splits between the 911 building and Church Street to give him roughly around 15,000 square feet or so. So it would be, kind of unfair to him to say he's going to move over to the new building now, handle 911 and the new building, and it would be well over or close to 20. I don't know what your building is, square footage wise.
Bottom floor, probably 5 or 8,000. That's
So-
8,500.
So, it would go well over what you would expect out of one janitor. So I have talked about several different options if we weren't granted the position, but none of them are real good options if we're going to keep any semblance of keeping the Church Street office open. And even if we were to close it completely, it still leaves a pretty big gap for that one man to do that much square footage. Bathrooms alone, I think we're going from increasing the number of bathrooms he can maintain by like 8 or 9. So, and those are one of the more time-consuming things he does.
So this is a custodial position, not a maintenance position?
This is a custodial position, yes.
Well, I recommend that one be part-time, not full-time.
I mean, that's
Just a recommendation.
part-time.
Less than 30 hours, you don't pay benefits. Pretty simple. I mean, that's the,
And still we have, and Hillcrest being the other main part of the Hillcrest building there, you're looking at about 15,000 square foot for each one of those full-time custodial positions there. It's 18,000 square foot.
yes, sir, I understand. We are transitioning in the school district from through attrition, any full-time to replace it with 2 part-time, so we don't have those additional costs.
If we move your full-time custodian from these 2 buildings to there, for example, we can pick up one part-time custodian to cover Mr. Avery.
Mr. Avery's, yes, and that's,
And go by and check what's left in the church. Just a thought.
yeah, and that was one of the options that we thought about as far as part-time or some other labor to pick up the 901 building if we remove the Church Street janitor over. I mean, yeah.
You would save on the salaries and you would save on health benefits. Health benefits alone, if they choose a full family option, is over $10,000 with the cost associated just to the employer. That does not include the employee's portion. a shame that we're having to sit here and discuss that, but that's what the reality of where we are.
Has anybody looked yet at possibility of selling Church Street, or is that in the cards at all?
That comes in later.
No, so we haven't had anything with it. That's gonna be a topic of discussion next week, is what we do. Probably gonna be in the new building when Rob, September, October.
September, October, somewhere there.
And then, we moved in that building in 1992, it's gonna be for just a couple of years, so we'll see how well we plan. But, there's some roof issues over there, so I think need to be looked at. And, we've actually had this was a while back, had an inquiry from local business, like person, so that's not saying that's not impossible, but it'd be great if we could. Now, we've got some, again, I think that's probably, the chairman, at his discretion, probably better have a committee look at it, see which way to go with it.
Well, basically what I heard about building and ground was instead of hiring a new employee, you hire a part-time employee. That's what I heard.
That's my recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
I would agree with that. We'll write that down.
Then in
Y'all write this stuff down too, but.
the event that becomes a problem, let's plan on addressing. I have a question. You talked about paper products and renegotiating. Do you get involved in some of that renegotiation for paper products?
Not on that end, that the department head handles that, it's we, do look at, I know that when Mr. Holland did look at state contracts, stuff like that, also what was available and stuff, so.
You're talking basically toiletries, I guess, paper towels?
Yeah, paper towels, hand towels, that sort of thing. Essentially what we did was, we went to our supplier and said, your price is steadily increased, we're gonna look elsewhere. We did, we priced elsewhere. We came back to some prices. The original vendor said, well, listen, I'll cut it to this and I'll deliver it to your facility. I'll cut it to the same price and I'll deliver it to your facility as opposed to you having to come pick it up. So they essentially matched what we went out and shopped around for and offered delivery to keep our business on.
And I know it's not totally in your forte as a purchasing, primary lease car purchasing, but I think there's an extreme value to combining a lot of those purchasing things and having one agent use them, and I think that, not that you did anything, you absolutely hit the mark, but I just think, 10,000 rolls of toilet paper a week versus 2,000 a week, for example, there's a big difference in purchasing like that.
And essentially, that's what we've already done already by having all the facilities basically maintained by our janitorial unit. I don't think there's a whole lot of supply anything outside.
What's your opinion on a full-time employee to a part-time employee? We're here to listen to you.
Again, I've had several discussions with our buildings ground foreman. We have a lot of ideas of how we can make things work. It's just with the amount of square footage we're adding over there, with the amount of tile floors we're adding over there, it's a lot more than what they're doing at church, what he's doing at church. For instance, everything at Church Street's all carpet. It's very easy to go and vacuum the carpet. It's pretty quick. At the new building, we're gonna have a lot of tile, and he's gonna have to clean that tile, on a regular basis. One of the other, you were talking about maintenance contracts earlier, one of the maintenance contracts that we pay for now is buffing of the floors. They do it once a week, the main hallway in the main part of Hillcrest. If we were to add this full-time employee over there on the building side, we would eliminate that contract and go to those three employees handling that buffing once a week that we currently contract out. Again, Steve's thought a lot about this. And he's thought about if we don't get an employee or if we have to go part-time. We do have some options, but just not great options. And they're asking a lot more of employees that are doing a certain amount now. We'll be asking a lot more that pick up a lot of additional duties.
I understand.
Is using trustees, is that part of the option? I know that Mr. Tyson is trying to some additional trustees in our area. You're throwing that in the mix as well.
We have, one of the problems with using trustees on that side is all the way down there's work alone. So, you have to have that person supervised, so you have to have a supervisor there. We can't set a trustee up in one part of the building and go to another part of the building to do a different job and let that trustee be essentially unsupervised. So, we have looked at some other areas that maybe we can free up someone to help out on the janitor side by utilizing trustee. So yes, we've looked at a couple different areas.
We used trustees exclusively about 10, 12 years ago, and we ended up in a whole bunch of trouble with DLC about where they were, and phones they were on, and I mean, I'm not saying that, but the problem with these buildings, and probably paid people.
Mr. Abrams built a good example of that. I mean, there's several, even in this building, there's a lot of secure areas there that just don't want.
All right, we're gonna move on to the extension. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. This is, 4H utilities. What's that, utilities at Clemson Extension Office?
The building, yes, sir. That 4H money is, that's some of that, federal forestry money that we get, basically not cutting something out of the forest. You usually percent of that and come back, and they treasure explain better than I can. They've since done some refiguring on that, and you get so much per year, you have to dedicate it back to support agricultural or project. That's what $25,000.
That looks like that's pretty well washed right there. Anybody got any more questions right there? Clemson Extension. Ain't got no gang cop fans up here. They all want to say something back.
They do good. They do a good job.
All right, we go to clerk Cole. There's some salary increases in there, but I guess that's longevity, ain't it? Let's see. Clerk of court, she's giving back 51,000, is that right? Got a capital murder.
Yeah, well, we still got that trial. What's the status of that trial?
If that trial happens this coming year, I'll be surprised.
Talking about Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
it'll be 10 years.
If it even happens, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know.
They tried to get a plea one time, I think, didn't work or something, so.
Well, I think the issue now is whether he's mentally competent to stand trial or not.
Anybody got any questions on clerk of court?
Looks like about $4,000 increase in salaries in here.
Most that's for longevity, isn't that right?
Probably.
Does that include the magistrates?
No, that's separate. This is a pretty comprehensive, tough department. They end up with a lot of things, child support and all kinds of things, kind of filter back through that.
So basically, we taking $51,000 out of that with this right here,
Where you see that, Joe?
Yes,
on this paper right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
he's returning the capital money,
Clerk
capital
of court.
murder.
Yeah, that's right, that's correct, that's correct.
The only thing with that 51,000 is this year, next year, 10 years from now, whenever it may be, we're gonna end up
Could be.
pulling that back out. So it's not the savings you think it is.
Right.
Any more questions? We go to communications, Mr. Joey Avery. Kind of go over this.
I did sit down with Mr. Kirk, and we went through some of the line items, and we did cut some of those line items.
Here it is.
Look like you cut 8, 9, 10, 11, about $12,000 out of that, didn't you?
Yes, sir. And some of those were projected that we didn't meet last year. And again, some of these line items that we're cutting, it's a peak and valley type throughout the operational years that we've looked at. We certainly try to save as much money as we can during the process. But some of it may be equipment that's old. We got to do some work on it, computers, monitors, even radio equipment.
Joey, how many full-time and part-time employees in this?
I have 19 full-time dispatchers in the 911 center, enough money in the budget for 2 part-time. And I've got 4 full-time in the 911 administration side. No part-time.
You got one position open, I think, currently, I've seen there.
I have 2 positions in dispatch open at this time.
So you're having some overtime issues covering.
We are.
So we're spending some overtime money covering those.
Yes, sir. And we just completed the advertisement process for that, so hopefully in the next week or so, we'll start doing interviews. But before that person is truly productive in the 911 center, it's 6 months at a minimum. So it's a long process.
What's that starting salary?
Sir?
What's that starting salary for just?
$21,378.40 thereabouts. It's not.
Yeah, not exactly, but yeah.
It's close, yes, sir. And one of the positions that I left, she went to work with another county making more money.
That was my point.
Yes, sir. And if we could give, and I've tried to be innovative on some of the budget processes that we put in place, like doing a shift premium for my night shift people. Don't always lose the day shift people, it's the night shift people that go to other counties, go they're trained, making more money working the day shift. So that's just a little incentive.
Do you do all the schedules, Mr. Avery?
Sir?
Do you do all the schedules, the
Yes,
schedule for everybody?
yes, sir. We work 12-hour shifts, and we rotate every other weekend. The employees have that weekend to be with their families. So,
Because I'm looking at the overtime as well on there, and would there be any possibility that we could offer some kind of incentive or something like that to cut it, or to kind of, lower the overtime rates?
well, I think we sort of started with a standard last year when we did an upgrade with the detention center officers. We raised their salaries so they wouldn't be leaving, and that sort of helped the retention rate out there. And certainly, anytime you augment the salaries of employees, they don't want to look elsewhere. And you're talking single parents, and they're struggling out there, so if they can make more money, they're going to look for more money. But I think certainly if we had a pay increase, and I don't want to say significant, but one that would be a difference maker in looking elsewhere, I think that certainly would be a deterrent in the overtime costs.
Yeah, because and the number I'm seeing, $85,139.41.
Yes, sir.
For overtime.
Yes, sir.
And if you could, I'd be fine with an increase in pay, if we could cap the overtime at a certain point, if that makes sense.
So there's going to be some overtime that's going to be inherent to what we do. If we have a storm comes through with a lot of damage, I've got to have as many people in there answering phone calls. But those are sort of unique situations, and it's going to be part of that peak. But the rest of the year, it may flatten out and save on the overtime costs. Yes, sir.
Working on 12-hour shifts, does that put you at overtime every shift? I know the EMS is one of those, I think you guys work 12 on, 12, some weirdo shift, and it makes overtime right in the middle. It's built into, is that some of the?
We build in about 8 hours per pay period for overtime.
So there is some overtime,
Yes, sir.
just because of the way she
Just
is.
because of the shift, that's right. And we've tried different shift setups, but the 12-hour shift certainly is a long shift, but it gives the employee more time to be with their families. some different dividends on, in that area
You know,
also.
we first started this thing, what, 10 years ago now?
Yes, sir.
We've got, all you know, we've got central dispatch everything, we do city, county, the whole deal. And we negotiated with the city of Columbus, city of Lawrence to, basically turn that over to county. They also provide payment for one dispatcher, okay, one base dispatcher for, as part of this process.
That's correct, yes,
City
sir.
of Lawrence, city of Columbus, CPW do that.
CPW.
The team of what, $60,000 a year, I guess, for
Roughly 54 to 60,000 a year, yes.
but, you know, that, and I guess we, I know it's like a CPI or something, or a COLA, we increased that to reflect that.
That's right.
That had changed since day one, so that, and they do, and of course, the cities we worked with them a long time to get them to turn that service over, and I think one system's better than four, however many we have, but, you know, that process hadn't increased any in the last, what, 15, 20 years, so.
20 years, yes.
$60,000 for three, that's just payroll,
Yeah.
benefit.
We don't charge them really hard. Sure, we don't charge base pay.
Just charging base pay, that's right.
Yeah, I think it have to be base pay, he said between 50 and 60, I'm saying 21, be down to 6.
Maybe we look at, those kind, we review them
And
periodically, maybe we look at recouping that, you know.
I think we should, I mean, something here, because of, you know, a $21,000 employee really costs you $35,000, $38,000.
How
but
many employees you say you had, Joe?
and 19 full-time employees in the 911 center. And I have enough salary in the part-time account for 2 part-time people working about 24 hours, 30 hours a week. The problem is I don't have the resources to pull from the part-time, because we've had a combination of police officers working part-time, and then the department they work in may be short, so then they've got to go to the full-time. So that's always been sort of an offshoot. And then if I've got somebody that's good part-time and I have a full-time, then I got to pull to draw from. So, yes.
I'd just like to make a comment, this is a fine example of, we got a park, 21 employees plus, is that what you said, 19 employees?
19, two part-time, then I've got 4 full-time administrative staff, yes, sir.
Total, how many?
About 25 full-time, 27 full-time, part-time.
Your total budget is 908,000.
Yes, sir.
And the other department I've been talking about has got a budget of 533,000 with 3 employees. We are, you know, I think you're doing a great job.
And, you know, I will add that we haven't had any staff adjustments as far as numbers in 15 years, Ernie, Mr. Seegers, 15 years. And our call volume keeps growing. And I understand, I put 4 new employees in the budget request for the simple reason that we want to provide medical procedures or protocols to the general public when they call in. But that software is labor intensive. Once you pick that phone call up, you can't let go of it until you get through dispatching it. So it's going to require additional people. In the future, if not in this present budget, the community service is going to demand us to start getting into that type of protocol. So,
I agree with that, that's going to come, those 4 employees, that just one per shift is what you
yes,
said.
sir. Only one person. Yes, sir.
Well, has anybody got any more questions, Joe? Yeah, we'll move on to the next.
All right, let me ask one, how about on the benefits, give Debbie, the superintendent, I guess, they might, we're gonna charge them one, they might be careful, pull over. Yeah, that's a adjustment we could make, get a little more help financially. Okay.
Everybody ready to move on? Next thing is our contingency. I believe we cut it a little bit this year too.
Yes, sir, 1,250, that's for, if we have emergencies, that's one source of income we have to go to for things unforeseen.
got left in there for this year, anybody know? I don't know, that was through March, through January.
It could be reduced to 100.
Chairman, if I may, is there rules in place?
No.
Okay. No, okay.
No.
I think.
No, not one, it's just what we, look back over time, see what we spent.
Not spending rules in place, so that doesn't, we're not required to go out there and have to cut up.
Let me ask the department a question. We pay the unemployment out of that account? Okay, so that's,
So there are,
we're sort of self-funded on that, so there are some things that we might need to look at.
I think that's fine for them. Anybody else have a problem with it? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next, biggest one, I'm put a car. You want to kind of address it, Nick? I appreciate the, department heads being here tonight, I mean, it means a lot to be able to ask questions. I know it's Friday night.
Pretty well explained on the paperwork that I sent each one of you. I know the money is tight. I've been asking for some help since 2000 for a part-time, a full-time, whatever you could give me to help myself and this chief out. You've got two people in which the coroner's office has always been considered Lawrence County as part-time. And of course, this chief is part-time, it's 30 hours a week. She gets $35 per call. She's got a county vehicle, which we use for transporting. You see the request that I have there. If you've looked over it, if you have any questions, anything that you can do, instead of me standing here and saying, this that I gave you, the paperwork, is based on Greenwood and Oconee County. Oconee sent me his full budget request, and I did get the same thing from Greenwood. Where we're at right now, if we have a death, we've got two people to cover this county, and both of them are sitting here. I don't think I need to explain to one of you exactly what we do, the hours we spend. Sure, I'd like to have more money, we all would. I would request consideration for the chief deputy coroner. I feel like that she should be getting the same salary as a captain for the sheriff's department. She gets 30 hours a week. I asked her, I said, well, how about if you get one more hour a day? I said, then that would make you full-time. And each one kind of looked at me and she did kind of strange and says, what do you mean it's an 8-hour day? And, you come to work at 9, you take an hour for dinner, you go home at 5. I think that's 7 hours. So she get paid for 6, so if you give her another one, she'd get paid for 2, with no dinner hour. But the request that I have in there, and I think the bottom line is, I really would appreciate consideration for a ban of the use of the chief deputy coroner. This particular unit that she's driving is just totally wore out. Any question you have, please ask me. Be glad if I can answer. I'll get you an answer. She is here with me. If you have any questions from her as far as what we do, 724. That's what I'm looking at, Mr. Chairman.
Doesn't Miss Chief get, per call pay too on top of the salary she gets.
Yes, sir. Last year, you cut her from $65 to $35 per call. If she answers a call in her personal vehicle, she gets $65. But she
Well, all
gets,
that salary added together, how does that add up compared to your salary?
I
I
don't
mean, I'm
have,
just asking, I ain't got any figures in front of
Chief, could you answer, have you got an answer to
me.
that?
I know last year or a year before, I believe she made more money than you did, didn't she?
Well, that's not hard to do. Listen, I'm not trying to be smart or whatnot, but I would say right now she is probably $23,000 to $25,000 a year with both of them combined. With these $35 that's added on. But, it bothers me, and it should bother you, that you would ask the person to get up 2, 3, 4 o'clock morning, with snow on the ground, pouring down rain, go out on the interstate, go up on Highway 25, and spend 5 to 6 hours for $35. I'm not crying wolf. You know that Nick is gonna run this job. I have for 34 years, and I'll continue. And I'm seeing people here that I've worked with their families, and if I live, I'll probably work maybe some more y'all. I don't know. We never know. The only thing I will tell you is factual, proven point. I have not had, a full night's sleep now in about 3 weeks. Our business has really been dead. Most folks say, how's your business? Oh, it's good, oh, it's bad. It's really been dead.
You're not gonna run out of business,
No, I don't think so. To cut anything else here, Mr. Wood, I can't tell you how many autopsies we will do the rest of this year or next year. It just depends. Right now, traffic fatalities, we're ahead of last year. It just goes on and on. But we keep increasing, but you would really have to spend some time like you did with the sheriff's department and walk in my shoes, Miss Cheek's shoes, to see what we do. I mean, I'm not complaining for myself, but I am complaining that she should get $65 a call. I mean, you took it away from her and you gave it to me. So you didn't really increase my budget last year at all. But I appreciate you giving me that. Lord knows I need it, and I don't mind. It's public information. I bring home pay from the county for 2 weeks. It's $760. Give or take a few pennies, and I just got a long extended raise of 3.5%. And that's where I'm at for 34 years. Not complaining. I do plan on being around a while unless the Lord decides to take me home and look at y'all. You got the same problem I do. Get your time, you may need it. Just always remember, if you do, I'm not being smart, you have somebody to call me. How about some questions?
Sir, Mr. Nick, how many miles are on the current van?
I think it just hit 139. You may be a little more than that.
And the other question I've got, I'm showing 5 part-time, and when you're the only full-time with the coroner's office, is that?
That is correct. The part-time gets $65. All of these folks have a full-time job, either working for EMS, City of Lawrence, to make a living, and they certainly cannot stay at home and wait on me to call them for $65. And if you look and break it down, you will see who is doing the majority of these calls. It's Miss Cheek and myself.
The part-time salaries comes out as per call pay, don't it?
Yes, sir.
That's where that comes
Right. Give you one example that's gonna come out of that. Ms. Sheik has lost, time and time again, and Mr. Seegers verified this, of vacation time. She's gonna be off for a week in this month. All I can do is bring in a part-time person and pay them $65 to come up there and work if I have to go, because someone's got to be in that office every day. And it really should be manned 8 hours a day. It should be open. And all the offices that I know of in South Carolina is open from 9 o'clock to 5. Now, you know, you can say, well, we're not gonna give you this, we're not gonna give you that, but somewhere down the road, the whole situation and setup of the coroner's office has got to change somewhere. And I know this isn't the time, and I've been living back since '81 with budget. It ain't just got tight, it's been every year that I can remember. And Mr. Joe, Ernie, the rest of y'all, you've been right along with me. This budget just didn't happen, and I'm speaking from the heart. You knew this budget was coming last year. You knew the shortfall was coming. You know, I wish I could tell you what to do or how to do. But I tell you what, I'll say a prayer, because at my stage in life, you know, I don't have to do anything but tell it like it is. But my friend, I'm gonna tell you something. Something got changed somewhere.
Yeah,
If
well, I've
it
been
means
saying
raising taxes,
for the last 2 months, something
Nick
got
don't
changed.
have to live in a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool out there. I can afford it, and I know each one of y'all up there. I don't want to pay any more taxes. We're not like the county, the city of Cleveland raise water and electricity. So the only thing, and I don't want to pay any more taxes, but if you're going to have the services, I cannot see any other way but to raise the taxes, because you don't see these folks that live down on Clevelandville complaining up here, hey, we don't have the $800 a month coming in. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but this is from the heart, and I mean it, because there are a lot of people that is really hurt every month. And I just had one that was cremated at the county paid for. People do absolutely not have any money. You've got a mother, maybe gone, but you had one, and dad. Everyone does. And when you see these people that don't have money to pay Piedmont Tech $450 to cremate them, it hurts. I've got a heart. I hurt for these people, and I have paid out of my pocket, and the good Lord gave me enough money to do it, to bury people. But there's one thing about it. You know, in Quine, 34 years I've done this, and I continue to do it because it's my way of giving back.
You mentioned raising taxes. We can't raise taxes. We can only raise taxes to CPI. I mean, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is that not right, Aaron? We cannot raise taxes right now. I mean, it's not our choice, it's mandated from the state.
Well, there are a lot of mandates that the state gives, and they just don't give us the money to do them.
But that's the truth. I mean, we can't raise taxes, but the CPI, and that's included in this budget this year. And it was a little over $200,000, I believe.
Well, I will say this publicly, and I want everyone here to know it. I have never worked with a better group of people than your sheriff's department, EMS. Without them and your fire departments, I don't know what the coroner's office would do. And I'm just telling it like it is, because I don't have to tell it any other way. But I'm grateful for the department heads, the department people that you have, because they do a fantastic job for Lawrence County. And I wish there was some way in the world that you could give everybody a raise except them Nichols, because they deserve it. And I'll say one other thing about your maintenance and the people that do the cleanups and whatnot. The gentleman that's up here in our office, he's fantastic. He does a wonderful job. And I really think we ought to be more appreciative of the working people that actually work for this county instead of old supervisor pulling nickels that, you don't know. But it's always the low people on the totem pole that we have to take from, and not the ones just making $100 or whatever $1,000. You know, I poured my heart out to you. Whatever you do is fine with me. I passed that stage. Mr. Joe knows I buried the hatchet. If I made anyone mad anywhere in the last 34 years, I apologize for it. If you don't like it, we'll talk about it, and I'll get on any level you want to get on. But I'm grateful for what you've done, and Mr. Severs, and I'll tell you what, this lady sitting over here, the love of the dead. She has done and doing a wonderful job. I don't have any more praise, I don't have any more to say.
Does anybody got any questions, Mr. Noble?
Come on, ask me something.
I just want to say one thing. When my father passed away, that office was very special. I'll use that word. And I know you all do it for everybody in this county, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Well, we'll move on to county council. I think it's fair, Bob. Anybody got any questions?
One thing, Mr. Chairman, is this, pay in lieu comes out, is that gonna come off the salary end of this? Are those numbers in, pay in lieu numbers in?
They're not,
So that's not gonna adjust this final budget at all?
they're not included.
Thank you.
For, information, county council budget is $101,589. All that salary is $70,000. That's for everybody that's up here. And I have to tell you the truth, when I went on county council 12 years ago, I didn't even know I made any money. I have to say, since this chairman job come up, it's 2 or 3 days every week in March. All right, we'll move on to detention center. Mr. Tyson,
Yes, sir.
we get 2 birds with 1 stone tonight, we get to talk to some of these department heads. We usually schedule a meeting where we talk to department heads, we get to talk to some of them tonight. But, I think you're doing a great job holding costs down at the detention center, my opinion of it. I think you're doing a great job. Does anybody got any questions, Mr. Tyson?
Yes, sir. If you would go over for us the number of officers you have. Remember we increased, I think, we got this number. 56.
56 full-time, 2 part-time. One of those part-time works the court 90% of the time.
Okay. Under food and provisions, that's always increasing. Do you think that's enough money?
Well, I think we're going to turn the money in under food and provisions this year. But we've worked to reduce our count so far, and I'm not going to guarantee nobody that we can keep our count down. We all know our count goes up in the summer. But as when I left the jail today, it was 206. This time last year, it would probably been 232 or 240.
Yeah, when the temperatures rise, I agree with you.
But medical, since you asked me, I'm gonna tell you, medical is our biggest problem right now. In the last 2 months and 6 days of this month, we've had 44 medical escorts outside our facility. That's 44 inmates, anywhere from attempt to murder charge, to rape, to arson, to DUI, to meth possession, being escorted out of the detention center to the hospital, or to Greenville, or even Augusta Burn Center. So our medical is our biggest, that and utilities are our two biggest expenses right now.
When you say medical, is that the physician and medical supplies budget?
Yes, sir.
$242,100.
Yes, sir. And I don't know what y'all are looking at. When we got this to do, it said January 31st.
That's what the IR says.
Well, that's nowhere near correct. I did a budget printout before I came today, so I wouldn't be caught off guard.
Well, tell us, how much have you spent in medical today?
We have $29,717 left in medical. That's left for the year. We're gonna exceed
You
that.
won't make it.
We're not gonna make that. There's no way possible we're gonna make that. Now, I've talked to Mr. Seegers several times to explain that. It's gonna go over, but I can't control medical. We have one inmate that we house for an entire year that we paid $1,000 a month medication just for life-sustaining drugs. No medical contract will cover that. Anybody you contract medical will not cover life-sustaining drugs. So that means it comes out of our budget. We have to pay it. And we have a $25,000 cost pool with this medical money. And that's the last. We had a gentleman housed in Anderson County that needed 24-hour medical care. And Mr. Seegers discussed in detail. That was costing us around $1,000 a month.
So how do you propose we can handle this remaining this fiscal year, 2 months left?
We're gonna go over. Hopefully we're gonna be turning in money in our budget
That's what I'm asking.
that will cover that. I'm hoping, but I can't guarantee you that.
How about utilities? Where are you in utilities?
Utilities right now, we have $9,698 left.
I don't believe you're gonna make that either.
We're not gonna make that. And the reason being, we have doubled the size of the detention center. Doubled it, more than doubled it in actuality. And when this was done, which, not criticizing anybody that did this budget, they figured that we had the new addition open for a year. But we didn't use but 2 of those pods during that year. There were 6 of those housing areas that was not being used. They've been used this full year, and as everybody has known, utilities have gone up.
And does the state reimburse for housing the state inmates in? It doesn't come close to covering it, does it?
They don't reimburse anything, that is our responsibility. Their medical is our responsibility. But we have the option, as me and Mr. Seegers discussed, if medical for a state trustee is too expensive, we can return the inmate to SCDC. They can tell me today, I can go into tomorrow morning, and we have 18 state trustees, they can all tell me, we want to go back to SCDC. I have no option but to take them back to SCDC. They are here on a voluntary basis.
Talk about your medical, what sort of medical service do you have out there? I'm not sure everybody knows that.
Okay, well, we have a licensed physician that has to provide us with 2 hours coverage a week. And at this time, is a nurse practitioner. It's not even a licensed physician, but that's not our responsibility, as I informed Southern Health. We contracted for a licensed physician, so give me one. They got no choice but to do that. But then all we have is an LPN. So all of them, and we have great staff, don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing none of our medical staff, they've been there, they're dedicated, they're loyal, but they're limited to what they can do. Now, I spoke to Mr. Seegers, and everybody told me I was crazy a long time ago when I mentioned it. But we had a county hospital, pardon my language, within spitting distance of the detention center, and we're contracted medical, and the state even pays this county hospital for seeing inmates. There's a reimbursement plan that they get some money. So I don't understand And there's probably a lot of reasons, and I just don't understand it, but I don't understand why that hospital doesn't do our medical. That emergency room is part of the hospital now, it used to be separate. I don't understand why that emergency room physician can't come to this jail and save this county some money. And just contract straight through the hospital. But there again, you sign a contract for 3 years, to be contract providers, so we're tied in for 3 years with someone else, which is a great company. I'm not criticizing the company.
Right.
Can you tell me, the reason someone was in jail for a whole year, it cost $1,000 a month, you said?
Yes, ma'am. We've had inmates in jail for 2.5
I thought you were talking about one person, I know.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
because of his charges. The attorney don't take him to court. I mean, there's all kind of reasons a person doesn't go to trial. Delayed by the defense attorney, delayed by the solicitor. Mental health may put a hold on it. I mean, just like we talked about a murder trial that we've been looking at for years, or we're going to be looking at for years. Right now, the biggest point in that is mental health is involved in it. Is the person capable or not? The judge has to rule on it. The judge is just like y'all sitting here, y'all got a terrible task in front of y'all. Y'all have to do this budget. I don't envy nobody. But that judge is looking at the same thing. I got the answer to the public. They want this. The law says this, and we just have to work it out. But we got a lot of people. We argued a point here a year ago that about choked me to death. We had an inmate in jail for a year for fleeing blue lights. His only charge was fleeing blue lights. And he was nothing but a continuous problem. Continuous problem. Right now, we have 16 people incarcerated that are charged. Nobody's guilty, obviously. I mean, until they go to court. But they are charged with murder or attempted murder. 16 in our detention center right now. And they will not go to court. I'm sure Captain Coates can tell you, a murder trial takes years to get somebody in. It just don't happen. There's so much involved in it. Expert testimony, expert witnesses, psychiatrists coming to the jail every week for 6 months to interview somebody to determine their mental status.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
When is that Southern Health contract up for renewal?
I think it has 2 more years after this.
We just got in.
And me and Mr. Stevens have been talking about that.
Joe, years ago, we had a contract in the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Now, the hospital's changed dramatically in the last 3 years.
Yes, sir.
They've redone the yards, expanded. But the reason we went with Southern Health, I think the first one we went with, I think one out of our league.
There was another part of Southern Health.
But that, reason we did that was because the hospital, what they were doing in those days, again, times changed, I know, but, we're just completely inadequate. That we had to, you had to bring the inmates all over at one time, there'd be 10 or 15 of them, chained together, go on the ER, public plane, and the idea was to try to get, what could get done within the, within the facility itself.
And that's what we want. We want it done in the facility. We don't want to take an inmate out of the facility because it is a security factor every time we have to do that. And some of these people, by law, determined by their charges, require 2 armed officers when they go out. And here we're trying to reduce overtime. And I know I don't have to tell you, probably none of the councilmen, we're doing court 3.5 weeks a month. We're furnishing staff to work court. And they have been helping us. They've been helping keep our count down some. But 44 escorts, and we're still trying to control overtime. That's going to invoke overtime.
I know you've got, she's got about 6 or 7 items here where it says requested by Captain Tyson. In other words, that's reductions that you agree with.
I cut almost $69,000 out of what we initially requested in our budget because the county council stated last time we need to tighten up and go back and review it. They were hard. It wasn't easy to cut those out. But I cut them, and they may be some more money to be cut later on. I'm not gonna tell you they're not gonna be able to be some. But also, I want everybody to understand, that we do things as far as training, supplies that we buy on a quarterly basis. So when we say we're gonna freeze our budget right now, we're already contracted to buy some things that we have already put out that we do on a quarterly basis. Training classes that's been set up, waiting to come along. We're not gonna pay for them until we get them. But we have to sign a paper if we're gonna attend this training.
I see she's got, reductions of about just roughly $27,000. And you said you had 60-something thousand?
What she asked me to look at was 3 reductions. And one of them was utilities. And I told Ms. Kirk, I said, Ms. Kirk, I will drop utilities back to where it was at, but we're going over this year. If I cut utilities on our budget, I'm telling the county council, we're going over, but I'm gonna ask for a reduction. County council gonna tell me I need to go find a job. But we cut $69,000 out of that budget. I have it right here. It's everything that we marked.
She put that back in. She put that back in, she didn't take it out.
And, well, what I submitted is on here. And anything
Y'all
that
got
we gain,
15 budget with 16 budget.
No, when he got, I think it was just.
I can show you if you want to. I have all the precautions.
Oh, at the end of it, she said reevaluation show no reduction. So I think she put 2. She didn't cut it. She didn't cut it.
But this is the one I submitted right here, the last one. It's $3,009,000. Our initial budget was $3,074,000. Then I cut it to $3,050,000. And then I just cut it to $3,009,000. That is a savings of almost $68,850-something.
Well, she hadn't got that in here.
I hadn't seen it, Joe, so just leave it with us, we'll take a look at it.
Okay?
Let me have it.
Yeah, 3,071. Take away the 25,000 that she's got there, get you down there.
Let me have it, we'll take a look at it.
She gave me.
Now, anything I ask for an increase in, instead of it actually being a real increase, it was something we cut somewhere else also.
We'll take a look at it.
Has anybody got any more questions, Mr. Tyson? Okay, we'll review that. Mr. Seeger said he would. E911. Joey wears a lot of hats.
Mr. Chairman, before I begin that, I need to make a correction. I had a little bit of dyslexia that stepped in. The starting salary for the dispatcher was $23,795.25. So I said $21,375, so I wanted to make that correction. Because I know Corey's got his pen going over here, I just want to make that sure. Again, with the 911, and let me go back and talk about the staffing level just a tad. For the communications budget, I have 19 full-time members and 2 part-time staff members. In the in the E911 budget, that's where my staff is. Because the 911 budget is reimbursable through the state on certain expenditures. So that's the reason we have that on there and break that budget out in that manner. Again, we talked a little bit about to Ms. Kirk. We made a few adjustments to that based on some expenditures. And that money is based on the subscriber 911 fees that we collect. And we also submit to the state for reimbursement on a quarterly basis. And we get approximately $40,000 back every quarter based on these expenditures to operate the 911 center. That takes into account for 911 wireless calls that we take, the need for the special circuits for the cell phone calls, for some of the telephone networking and those kind of things. So, that line items that you see there is pretty hard as far as the cost coming in, from outside sources.
Does anybody got any questions, Joe? I see you gave that 12 months.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna try to wrap this thing up tonight about 6:30, if it's all right with everybody else. Where'd David go? He ain't gonna go home, did he?
But I need to go.
All right.
I'll keep it
Well, we'll wrap up about 6:30, it'll be all right with everybody else. We get that.
Mr. Chairman, I have the emergency management also, if you'd like to cover that.
Yeah,
while
go
I'm
ahead
here.
and get that while we have it.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody got any questions? Go on that 911 subscriber.
Get most of that money with subscribability.
Yes, sir, it is. It's not 100%, but we take it a good amount.
That's what, $1 a line per month?
No, yes, sir.
We let him address emergency management. I see him giving back 5,800 on that.
Yes, sir. The emergency management budget also is separate because we use that budget to get grants, various grants through the state. So a lot of those line items are help us meet our federal match in order to get that grant money. And those again, some of those line items are peaks and valleys, if you will. I'm going to add one there that sort of stands out to me is the tornado siren maintenance. These things are old pieces of equipment, with vital information to the citizens that live in those fire districts. I got several members around the community, when their siren does not go off at 12 o'clock or thereabouts on Saturday, by 12:30 that afternoon, I get a phone call. So it's still a vital part, so we try to maintain that for notification. And so that's the only one that stands out. And if it's broke, we fix it. And if it doesn't, if it's not broke, then we don't make any expenditures. Okay. And what we're trying to do too is to better educate the public to use weather radios, to not depend on those sirens, especially during summer months, the foliage on the trees, you don't get the disbursement of the sound waves from the sirens. So we're doing a better job of trying to educate on the weather radios. And we also request a grant for radios also. So.
I see you also gave up 17,200 on emergency.
Yes, sir, and that's where we get a hazmat grant or hazmat expenditures, but talking with Kurt, and what we would do is we got that grant, we would spend the money, and then we'd get the revenue back, so it's a wash. So it's just a paperwork cleanup on the budget, if you will.
Trick or treat.
One shot.
Has anybody got any questions for Joe on that?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think we're about halfway through the book, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, possible we could have, any other department heads that are here that we haven't talked to yet?
Yeah.
Let them go ahead and do theirs.
That'd be fine. Let's skip down to registration and election.
Anybody want me candy? You gotta come and say trick or
I'm
treat.
glad you
That's
come
what
in.
you have to do.
Come up to that.
Not you, you're an attorney, you don't get in. Go to the police.
So we're leaving off at finance, that's where we pick up next time.
Yeah, that's a trick, you bring them together and make some trick.
We're going to registration and election.
Wait a minute, let me
Got
call
a
you.
page number on there, yeah.
Page 40.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that suggestion.
see you gave back $1,100.
If I
Is
could.
that right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I just wanted to make the point that, in some of these first of all, this is what you have in front of you is from January, and we have spent, equipment and maintenance money, about $24,000 of that 25 that you have, looking at you. But we also have reimbursements that don't show up on this sheet. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that the State Election Commission, the parties, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and our municipalities sends us checks for elections that we actually bill an actual cost for. For example, we're over a little bit in the part-time salaries, but the city of Clinton had good for me, but hope they'll keep the job that way. The city of Clinton had a lot of elections this year that were unexpected, as you know. We have a special election county council this year. So some of these numbers that may look like we're spending a little bit more are actually because of circumstances that we did not have in the budget, and also they're not quite as bad as they look because we've been reimbursed for these. We actually are reimbursed by the salaries for the board at 100%. I don't know if that's indicated on your sheet or not. We have 2 new board members that have been appointed, but those 2 will be reimbursed. Our travel is mandated by the South Carolina Code of Law, not our travel, but our training expenses in Columbia. And with new board members, there's more training directly due to some poor elections that were held in Richland County last year. Some of us that were already certified were required to be recertified. We went to Columbia a lot. And probably will continue to do so. Postage. I might tell you that the board has just voted to use a mailing agency, so to speak, so that we can cut down on the postage that we'll use. Postage has gone up several times since we've had an increase in our postage budget. And of course, we mail absentee ballots and voter registration cards all the time. This mailing service that's available to the State Election Commission and now counties will allow us to use smaller envelopes and get a bulk rate. So we expect not to go over on our postage again. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten any more grants. We keep on trying, but we haven't found any more money out there.
This professional services scanning, is that something?
I look at the scanning as carryover, and even though you can't see this, if you were to add in the reimbursements that we have, we feel like we have that money already in our line item under election supplies. And some of you may remember the years that we had to check all the petitions by pulling all the voter registration applications out of the files because it directly involved most of you. We do that all the time, and lots of counties. Now with our new voter registration system that's provided by the State Election Commission, it has the capability to attach our voter registration files to the actual voter registration record in our computer. And we could get a handle on some of the scanning that we have, hundreds of thousands of records actually, that we would like to scan, and then have a starting point A that we could go forward from now on and scan our own as they came into the office. So, again, we'd love to do that. I know the money is tight, but we look at it as carryover money that we haven't spent.
Could be reduced from this,
Sorry?
could it be taken out of this?
I don't understand.
Can it be removed from this budget if you already got it?
She hasn't done the
We haven't done the scanning. We've gotten some bids on it. We actually have a cheaper bid than we had last year. We asked for this last year too. We keep on asking for it, just by the way. It's money that we have not spent this year in the budget, but when you look at this sheet, you don't see that because you don't see the $45,000 that we've been reimbursed that, in my mind, you could add back to our budget. Even though actually the money goes back into the
I'm
general
getting ready to
fund.
help if you let me.
one of their board members made an appointment with me and talked about the scanning process and said how important it was. I think that, I'm just asking the question, if you still need it, then I certainly think we need to do that.
She's got it included in the budget,
But they did make a point of stressing that was something important they needed, was what I was trying to say.
Thank you.
In the process.
I will just, as an aside, we hired a scanning company to scan transcripts, just for what it's worth, and it was not done well at all,
Really?
just for what it's worth.
Oh, I'm working on it, that's awful.
So we don't do that in any other, the cities don't do any scanning, we don't do that. There's nothing there we can utilize back. But you guys have the equipment already to do the scanning as they
The
come.
way this would work is we would send the documents to an outside agency. They pick them up by the file cabinet, basically drawers full. They scan them in PDFs and bring us back a hard drive with the documents on there. We do have the equipment. We would need, it's in the, there's $1,000 in here for additional scanning equipment for us to use going forward, which is probably generous. This is a medical records company that we're looking at. Like I said, we've got 3 bids, but the lowest bid that we like is a medical records company, and they normally scan medical records for doctors and hospitals. They have also scanned records in South Carolina for 2 other voter registration elections offices.
sound like you checked them out.
We've been taking them out, yes, sir.
Has anybody got any questions for Lynn?
I don't have any questions, but just a comment. I've done a lot of work with EMR and transfer, actually doing that. So let me know if I can assist in that
Thank you.
process.
That'd be amazing. We'd like all the help we can get and advice. I know that's your field. That'd be great.
Mr. Chairman, I would say for over the years, that our election office has been suspect. I think right now it's the best shape it's ever been in. Mr. Dare, who's the chairman of that, I think they all work hard. We've been on warning here recently, I think, that we do appreciate what they do. They've been nightmares in the past. We don't have that anymore. I thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the consideration.
Thank you, Lynn. Who else has not been covered in here? Who wants to get up tonight? Come on up, Jed.
How's everyone?
Gonna go to the EMS.
See if there's a light.
What page is the EMS on?
61, no, the budget itself, big.
About 5 halves from the back.
65.
Go ahead, Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I worked with Lisa. I did not get a request through her office of any reductions because of our budget actually being balanced. I did go through our line items with our major operations, just seeing where we maybe could trim up just a little bit. We did come up with about $5,000 worth of trims. I did send this email to Lisa, and I know with the recent passing of her stepfather, I'm not sure if it's been put into this packet.
I've seen it, but it's not in here. We can add it.
Okay. The total savings that I could really come up with was about $5,000 from some of the line items for both historical expenditures and kind of where we sit in today on the fiscal year 15 approved budget. I, of course, in my budget request, had asked for expansion of services, and that did include additional personnel. I understand that we're not going to consider necessarily doing any additional personnel. I do think that we need to look at that a little more. I understand that if we have limited funding, you can't necessarily apply that within the budget process. But I think that we should try to take some steps to look at some alternate ways on maybe being able to provide expansion of resources. I think it's critical. The call volumes are up, the guys are just getting hammered and work with that. And I think we need to expand. I believe that point was proven last year prior to approving the budget, and we just haven't really talked about it anymore. There are several other needs that I put in the budget concerning recruitment and retention. I know we've hit it on a few times about raises. Every department's probably requested raises. I think the county council itself would like to give raises to the employees, and also understand the limitations that we're under. I would like to emphasize that last year we had about a 40% turnover rate. Currently, right now, probably to answer Mr. Pitt's question, we have 42 full-time positions. We have 39 of those currently filled. We just lost another full-time employee to the neighborhood service. So that left us with 39 of the 42 full. We have 16 part-time employees, and we're getting ready to probably put 5 more part-time staff on the part-time roster. Traditionally, we've always heard we've lost to neighboring counties. Just like we said earlier, I think Joey had hit on, neighborhood services typically offer a little more than we need to start, and it's hard to retain that. Another thing I would like the county council to consider in my budget request was I asked that we look at our accrual rates and maybe consider adjusting accrual rates for benefits to employees who work more than an 8-hour day. It's explained in my budget justification. I don't necessarily think it was applied into the budget sheets, but I would like some consideration of looking at least with the EMS department, where we can accrue rates a little differently to equal the benefits that the employee works per hour versus basing it on an 8-hour day. If that makes sense. So formally my justification that may explain that a little bit better, but I would like that we consider looking at that for our recruitment and retention needs. Of course, just like most other departments, I probably requested a raise, and I did for our paramedic-related positions. Again, I understand the shortfalls went in this year. I just want to emphasize that we really need that for our recruitment and retention needs for EMS. Other than that, self-explanatory, my budget justification, my request, we have to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Brett Burrell, what could we do as far as the overtime goes? You know, do we have, is there, and I'm wondering about captains possibly controlling overtime and things like that. I mean, and actually being able to give people raises, you know, and being able to cap things, right? And you probably know the $484,473.85 currently in overtime. Is there a better way that you can see doing that, or something we could implement to give incentives to management?
I don't see any way that we can cut overtime. We spoke about this last budget session. Inherently, each full-time employee in their normal schedule is built in 828 hours of overtime. The budgeted overtime salary is based basically on being fully staffed, and that 848 times our 40 full-time employees, that equates out to that budgeted amount. It requires that many hours to cover the 24-hour, 7 days a week shifts that we work. Even if we looked at doing different things like adding an additional shift and changing to a 12-hour shift operation, we'll have to hire 12 more FTEs in order to do that, and then we'll just be transferring the overtime money over to the salary account. So it's not really a savings just because of the way we work. We work 24 hours on, 48 hours off. That equates 1 week at 48 hours, which is 8 hours overtime. Next week, we'll be saving 2 hours. So you can add that over 40, that's what you get overtime. And that's just inherently built into our schedule.
We went through that a few years ago where we had one of the problems with that, so that's been tried again. It's certainly something we question a lot of times. I think the shift rate, I think we were mandated to.
What we did, we got sued.
Yeah.
What happened, we still had this conversation yesterday, we were paying, I think you got the flex time, like 200 and the number of hours you work, it's a work period rather than a work week. And we did that with EMS for a long time because we paid on fire. And then I think the medical calls got so outstripped the fire call or whatever that we ended up, we got sued by a former employee. Spent about $100,000 fixing it, and then we had to go time and a half with it, but then we were 40. And that's why we're there, you know. And then it's been a good number of years ago, and we changed that immediately under, you know, basically on the court order. We settled it, but we still have to
option, any other kind of transports that we could look at that may be a cheaper option?
There's, obviously, you've seen other type of ambulances, vans, you've seen vans, and they are cheaper as far as the outright expenditure. However, they do not perform well in emergency situations. Vans are meant primarily for the non-emergents, the routine calls. You don't have to move around a lot, perform a lot of aggressive treatments, and actually get around the patients. So box units have more space on the outside, of course, to carry more equipment that's needed for truly managing emergencies.
And we pretty well bounced that around and found out that F-350 is about the best ambulance to use. Well, no, we used 450s and then we had them big freight liners.
Yes, so the 450 chassis or the 4500 equivalent to the Dodge is what we're in now. Is it 45 or 35? 40. It's 45. It's equivalent to the 450s. The 350 chassis just don't hold up to the weight and the use. That 450 is better than the Freightliner as far as our use here, really on some of these small roads and overpasses and so forth. It's just a bigger truck, it's more money to maintain. So the 450 chassis is pretty much ideal. We have when we purchased most of our 450s, unfortunately Ford Motor Company was using the 6.0 motors and then they went to the 6.4 motors, and they've been having some tremendous problems with those motors. Now they're to the 6.7. Our last couple of purchases, we decided to go with the Dodge chassis just because we couldn't gamble on the 6.7 motor being the solution from Ford. We're having too many problems with the other motors. And so far, the Dodge seems to be holding up pretty good, except for a few routine things. You may mention about the remount or the outright purchase. Obviously, the remount would be a cheaper option. We are set up now. I think that we can start doing that in this year and or in upcoming years. I still feel at some point we'll need complete replacements of 1 to 2 trucks before we can get to an aggressive, just only remount option. Remounting is taking one of the boxes that we have now, putting it on a new chassis. The ambulance company actually goes through all wiring, removes all metal, removes all leather, and strips everything down to the bare metal. So you're basically getting a new truck, you're saving money because of the cost of that shell. So, obviously that would be one option this year. I know that I put capital in for a new ambulance, a remount, and a QRV replacement. I understand from Mr. Pitt's comments, it's going to be we only have a limited amount of money for capital. I would at least ask that we consider a new truck or the remount ambulance. Obviously, the remount will be a little cheaper, and I think that we could do that this year and get it turned around in 3 or 4 months.
Quicker to get a remount than a new one?
No, sir. It depends on the availability of the chassis for one, because either a new one or a remount takes a new chassis. Once they secure an order and they get a chassis in, they begin building the box. So it may come in a little quicker just because the box is already built, the shell itself is already built. It may knock off 20 days of production.
So it had to take several months to get is the new one in yet we ordered last year?
No, sir, it's not. And one problem, and I'm expecting a letter from TaylorMade now, and I've also checked with some other ambulance manufacturers, and they verified this as well, that the Dodge chassis, as well as the Chevy chassis now, as far as the ambulance package, has a major back order issue. It took, did they confirm the total amount?
60 days was where we were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, once they got the chassis in, it's as per contract, production time of 60 days. But the problem here on getting this truck in was there was a back order from the Dodge for them to be able to actually secure the chassis.
And when do you expect to get it in?
Probably in 30 days now. Right?
Well, probably June, last of June.
Or in the fiscal year?
Oh,
That was a truck that was ordered months ago.
that was ordered after July 1st of 15.
So it took about a year, or will take about a year.
I think we narrowed down the final specs around, I guess, the 1st of August. We actually made the order, I guess, because we had to narrow some spec changes. So it's taking a little bit of time. But again, according to TaylorMade, it's because of the Dodge issue with the availability of the chassis.
I guess we'll take care of all the capital expenditures at one time.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make one suggestion.
Yeah, go
EMS has been an issue in this county for a long time. Let's go back to the 70s when it started. And we basically got the same system we had in place almost 20-something years ago when I came here. We had QRVs, which I know is a big help. basically, we still operate with the 4 transport units we had in the early 90s. This council spent a good bit of time on the fire service, committee work, trying to get things straightened out, worked out, processed out, and I think we've done you all done some good work on that. Like, if you could consider maybe putting EMS as a committee subject to be discussed over the next several months, probably. We'll take that length of time to do that. I know Mr. Jones got an interest in it, I know Mr. Brown got an interest in it. And I think we're looking at some things, public, private, expansion, public things, you know, that we need to look at. Doesn't have to be done tonight, but I think the director would agree, Mr. Jones would agree, that it's something that we need to be talking about. And I think some council members said, you know, once we got through the fire situation, we pretty well got it, at least on the track, that EMS would be the next major topic we look at. So I just offer that as a suggestion. Doesn't have to be done tonight, sometime in the next several days, if you think about that, I appreciate it.
Has anybody got any more questions? Chad? Thank you, Chad. We got to offer Billy Wilson, he's the last one in here. You got any problems your way?
I cut 3,000 out of mine.
Okay. Has anybody got any questions, Billy? You just got yourself, Ed.
That's me.
Hard to manage that part.
It is.
People are the problem.
I'm telling you.
Well, we're gonna stop there on that part of the budget, but has anybody on council got anything you want to discuss?
Yes.
Mr. Pitt?
I would like this council to consider not replacing the risk manager at this point in time. I had mentioned it earlier. Certainly there is a potential impact in terms of worker training and retraining to avoid future accidents, workers' comp claims, etc. But given our current financial position, I think it would be prudent for this council to consider not replacing. I know we have advertised for that position, but I personally believe we should not fill that position at this time. That's one thing. And then, Mr. Chairman, if we could briefly discuss the potential LCDC and that ordinance or pending ordinance, if you would so allow.
Well, right now it's at 60,000. Has anybody got the schedule?
Yes, sir, I do.
Ken, hold it.
Yes, sir, I would like to offer this compromise. I serve at the pleasure of the chairman of that board. I met with Mr. Bryson numerous times. LCDC is willing to work. Obviously, they're at the pleasure of this council and what we give to LCDC. Mr. Bryson has asked that I relay this information. I did share it with Mr. Wood yesterday. I'd like to share it with the rest of council tonight. And that is to compromise at a $30,000 reduction. And he asked that we not change the ordinance so that it would be a one-year cut. And then certainly, if council would come back next year if we are in the same financial position that we are. And I think I relayed that as best I can, as Mr. Bryson described that to me, Mr. Chairman.
Diana's gone. Keith, you got anything to say to that?
Yes, sir. In our last regular meeting, as we started this ordinance, I did vote in approval of the ordinance, but I had some concern about it. I wanted to spend a little more time with it. I'll make this very, very brief. I had went back through the budget. I had already gotten a copy of the budget. I had asked several questions. I've gone back and asked a couple more questions. given the terms, or suggestion of Mr. Dr. Pitts, I would certainly follow the 30,000 if we took the ordinance off the table, and just cut their budget by 30,000, and then reapproach that next year if need be. And I think that's fair to the LCDC. I think their job out there is to do things like the golf tournament, to do things like advertising, to do things like travel. I think that's what they're there for. So I was considering $20,000 was my thought process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Knight?
I think we need to cut it to $30,000 and not make no promise of the future because cannot project the future. And 30,000 will be fine, and if they don't tighten up their ship a little bit, then next year take another 30. Because I know exactly how this started with 360 in the budget. That's $360,000. And this all boils down to tax money. Everything that we spend is fees and tax money. And people are paying that for that tax money. People are hurting financially, can't pay the bills. Some people living like kings. So that's my objection. I'd love to go with $30,000. It'll be half of it, what we do in the future, if anything else. Be seen from the federal. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Well, the big thing here is that, I mean, does our budget balance, with the amount that we're reducing here? A lot of what I call the muscle of our local government here, they're making substantial cuts. And so I think the cuts are going to have to happen, in areas like the Development Corporation as well. But the main thing here, I mean, if we had substantial development and economic growth, we wouldn't be looking at making cuts, So I would like to urge our LCDC to, I'd like to look at options of commission based incentives and so forth to bring prospect growth and businesses to Lawrence County. I myself, I believe that we all have to take part in this and help bring more growth and more business to Lawrence County. This past week, I spoke with 3 restaurants and 1 retail store about coming to Lawrence. So I really think we need to take the initiative to grow Lawrence. Everybody needs to do that. So, but I think, we've got, like I said, we've got areas of government, muscle of government that are making the cuts. So I think development, making a compromise and cutting $60,000. The big thing though is what amount do we need to balance the budget. So that's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
The whole idea of this, just like I said in the audit of the LCDC, Lawrence County Council is a related party to the LCDC because they furnish some tax money of $360,000 a year. So the only way we got to tell them that they doing something that we don't like is to cut their budget a little bit and get their attention a little bit. I have to ask questions about, and I repeat what I said at the first meeting. Where was the decision made to give a man a $22,000 raise the first year? Was it made in executive session or was it made in open session? I'd like to know if there's any minutes of that meeting. I'd like to know who voted to do it and who voted not to do it. We give Chamber of Commerce what, $32,000? I got no problem with Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Bryson said to me in a meeting with Mr. Pitts, I said, why are you paying rent on a building when you own half the building? You paying rent, $3,150 a month, rent on a building that you own half of. He said, this is what he told me. He said, we just feel like the Chamber of Commerce needs a little bit more money, so we give them $3,150 a month. Is that in their interest to do? I mean, when we giving them money, I know everybody needs money. They just so many things in it, and that I don't agree with, and this, I keep barking on a $22,000 raise. That comes on the heels of another raise that was gave to the same person about 2 or 3 years after he was hired of $15,000. So, and another thing is the insurance. Everybody in this county pays their share of the insurance. They don't. Your tax money pays their insurance. That's not right. I don't care what anybody says, that's not right. Marvin Moss is a fine man. He is well respected in South Carolina. Marvin Moss has brought industry to this county. I just can't say any too much good things about Marvin Moss. Marvin Moss is a fine man. Marvin Moss is an honest man. Does he agree with everything that happens out there? I'm satisfied he does not. But he's in a position that he's got to do what the executive board says to do. You've got a board of directors out there. Everybody out there is on the board of directors, but you got an executive board of 5 people that makes all the decisions. And by what the newspaper says, those 5 people are smarter than anybody else in this county. So, I don't like what's been put forth criticizing county council. I don't know where it came from, or I know they sat down, the news media sat down with Marvin and Mr. Coleman, Mr. Tyson, Mr. Bright, Stan. And I guess they made notes of what they were saying. And Jonathan Coleman, in one of his statements, he said, we're the only ones that make any money for the county. Another thing that I talked to them about back in January, I want them to tell the truth about what's happening in this county. They talk about all these millions of dollars that they've brought into this county. And I questioned the article. I said, are you including the American Titanium, which was $400 million? Yes, we include that. American Titanium never come to this county. One article that was put in there that I called him on, he said, Mr. Coleman said that there was 1,133 new jobs announced in 2014 for Lawrence County. But it does not stop there. I questioned that. The truth of that was 200-something jobs. It wasn't 1,133 jobs, it was 200-something jobs. I want to see the truth. And they say this company is creating 500 jobs, but they fail to say those 500 jobs might not get here for 10 years. I don't feel like a job's created, that person is hired and put on that job. I know they're not here. I'm just telling you why I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about on this stuff. It's not right. I'm not gonna turn my head and look the other way. I'll tell them, just like I'm telling anybody here. I don't like what's going on, but it's up to this council what to do about it. But I guess the next meeting, we'll have a second reading on it, and I guess we'll entertain a motion to do whatever we need to do. Either put take $30,000, or just forget about the whole deal. Has anybody got anything else? Well, if it happened, we stand adjourned, but we need to set a meeting, another budget meeting. What about after the next council meeting? Maybe an hour? Is that all right with everybody? Tuesday night, next Tuesday night, at the council meeting.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing, we need yet, and I know there are issues will still be addressed, we need a second reading on this thing by the second council meeting in May. So whatever it takes to get to that point, that's what we need to do, so, I just call that as, that'd be 26, I think, and then that gives time to advertise and get it approved and get everything done right. Just keep up that in mind.
Mr. Chairman, let's think about Ms. Kirk, and I apologize, I didn't look, I saw it come across the announcements, her father, her stepfather's passing. Is she gonna be available Tuesday night?
I would think so. Yes.
Again, I apologize, I didn't look.
Funeral tomorrow, I think, funeral tomorrow.
Okay.
She should be back.
Everton.
This is some sort of, this is something I anticipate, she should be back.
Thank you.
I'll mention one other thing, there was something else that was thrown up in my face this week. We were talking about the LCDC, and, one of the people that works at the LCDC told me, he said, talking about ZF, I said, ZF is here because of the Commerce Department in the state of South Carolina. They the one that brought ZF transmissions here. LCDC didn't bring them here. And what economic development is location, location, location. We was in the right location for that plant. Well, we went out and got grants and so forth for that project. I said, well, didn't you get paid to do that? Didn't you get a salary to do that? Wasn't you hired to do that? I mean, you didn't do anything extra. You did what you was paid to do. So don't throw that up in my face. But, has anybody got anything else?